But today, we're going hyper-focused. We're taking just a single really charged excerpt from Motor Trend. I mean, it's just a couple sentences.
Yeah.
And we're going to treat it like, well, like the Rosetta Stone for this huge industry rivalry.
That's a great way to put it. The source material itself is minimal, yes, but the language the editors chose is so specific.
So deliberate.
It's so deliberate, so freighted with strategic meaning that it really gives us a complete map of the current state of American high-end automotive competition.
So our mission today is to extract the absolute maximum insight from the absolute minimum text. We're not just analyzing cars.
No, not at all. We're analyzing the very philosophies of luxury.
And the stakes here, they couldn't be higher.
Right.
We're talking about the flagship segment for American automotive luxury.
The big leagues.
It's an explicit rivalry. The updated Lincoln Navigator versus the established dominant Cadillac Escalade. These two vehicles, they represent hundreds of millions of dollars in R&D.
And decades of brand legacy.
So what's the prize they're fighting for?
It's everything. It's the coveted title of luxury SUV standard bearer.
And that's not just marketing speak, is it?
Oh, no. This is not about who sells more units in a given quarter. It's about who gets to define the aesthetic, the technological baseline, the ultimate expectation for this entire segment for the next decade.
So when you become the standard bearer,
You set the curve. Every other competitor, and I mean domestic and international, they all have to try to meet or exceed the bar you've just set.
okay, so let's jump right into the core conflict, because the source, it lays it out instantly. The central tension is framed just perfectly. It says the new Lincoln Navigator, which it actually calls a beauty.
Which is an interesting choice of words in itself.
It is. It says its elegance must compete with Cadillac's impressive Escalade.
And what's fascinating there right away is that we're dealing entirely in qualitative terms.
Right.
The comparison is completely rooted in aesthetic and emotional responses. You have elegance and beauty on one side.
And impressive on the other.
Exactly. This just moves the whole conversation so far beyond horsepower, torque, even the number of cup holders.
This is Motor Trend basically challenging us, the reader, to analyze brand strategy and the psychology of the high-end buyer.
It's a philosophical duel.
It is. So our deep dive today is structured around deconstructing those three key terms: beauty, elegance, and impressive, to figure out what it truly takes to carry that standard bearer flag. Let's start with the challenger then, the updated Lincoln Navigator. The source calls it the new Lincoln Navigator. In a segment where model refreshes happen all the time, what does updated or new really signify here? For a company like Lincoln, what's the strategy?
It signifies a massive and intentional commitment to disruption.
Disruption, okay.
In this upper echelon of vehicle, an update is not a new taillight cluster or, a different color of paint. It's typically a mid-cycle refresh. But that involves significant re-engineering of the structure, sometimes major powertrain modifications.
And I'm guessing the look, the design is a huge part of that.
It's the most important part. A completely revised interior and exterior design language. If you think about it, if the Escalade has defined the luxury narrative for the last few years, Lincoln's newness is their declaration of war.
So it's not a refresh, it's a rebuttal.
That's it. It's specifically designed to present a credible, purposeful counterargument to Cadillac's established dominance.
It's an aggressive move, but it's packaged in this very refined wrapper.
Right.
And that first descriptor we get is so subjective. The new Lincoln Navigator is a beauty. Now, let's be real. We're talking about a massive body-on-frame, 3-row luxury truck. How does beauty even apply to a vehicle that, by its very nature, has to be imposing?
Well, that's the core paradox that Lincoln is trying to solve, isn't it?
Yeah.
Beauty in automotive terms, especially when you're talking about something this massive, it implies a mastery of proportional balance.
Okay, so making it not look as big as it is.
Or at least making that size feel harmonious, not just bulky. It means the designers have successfully managed to mitigate the visual weight of the vehicle.
So instead of leaning into the size.
Instead of emphasizing sheer size or aggression, the focus shifts to things like flowing exterior lines, a more restrained use of bright work, or, chrome and surfaces that are sculpted to catch the light in a sophisticated way.
It's almost like the visual equivalent of turning down the volume.
That's a perfect analogy.
If impressiveness, which we'll get to, relies on hard angles and a giant grille that basically shouts, "I am here," then beauty is seeking, quiet admiration?
Quiet admiration, it suggests a certain timelessness and a desire to avoid those visual trends that can date a design so quickly.
Which is a huge pitfall in the luxury space, especially when it's so obsessed with technology.
A major pitfall. So beauty here is really an appeal to aesthetic longevity.
Sure.
It's targeting the buyer who values the experience of living with an object that's been designed with care, rather than just the immediate gratification of spectacle.
And that really sets the stage for the second word they use, which is maybe even deeper. Elegance.
Which is a whole other level.
Yeah, let's differentiate that. Luxury is, having a lot of expensive features. Elegance feels like it's about the application of those features.
Yeah.
How does elegance separate itself from just general luxury in the Navigator's context?
Elegance is all about refined taste. It's an obsessive, and I mean obsessive, attention to detail that manifests in the feel and the sound of the vehicle.
Okay, so it's sensory.
Completely.
Yeah.
Look, luxury can be bought by the pound. You can just throw features at a car. Elegance has to be engineered. It has to be designed with intent from the very beginning.
So for Lincoln, what does that look like in practice?
It translates to things you might not even notice consciously at first. We're talking about incredibly precise panel gaps on the exterior.
The space between the doors and the fenders.
Exactly. The weight and the damping of the switchgear inside, how a knob turns or button clicks. It shouldn't feel cheap. And maybe most importantly, the way all these different materials, the open pore wood, the custom metal trim, the specific types of leather, meet each other seamlessly.
Right, so it's not just that you have leather. It's having leather that feels and smells authentic, with stitching patterns that are subtle and sophisticated and, perfectly executed.
It's the absolute opposite of visual clutter. There's a harmony to it.
Okay, and this has to go beyond just the materials, right?
Yeah.
There's an engineering component to this feeling of elegance.
Oh, absolutely. And this is where we have to talk about the engineering element that is paramount to perceived elegance. The isolation of the occupants.
Keeping the outside world out.
Precisely. Lincoln needs to absolutely minimize what the industry calls NVH.
Okay, for our listeners who might not be familiar with that term.
Right. NVH stands for noise, vibration, and harshness.
Okay.
It's simply everything that makes a car feel cheap or unrefined. It's the road noise you hear, the engine drone on the highway, the shudder you feel over a bump.
So elegance dictates that the Navigator has to feel like this. This genuinely isolated, silent sanctuary.
Yeah.
And they do that with, sophisticated noise-canceling tech, extra sound deadening?
All of the above, and highly, highly optimized suspension tuning. The goal is to achieve that quiet confidence. When you get true elegance right, the car doesn't feel like a machine that's fighting the road.
It feels like it's gliding over it.
It glides. And this whole philosophy, which a lot of people are calling quiet luxury now.
It's a term you hear everywhere.
It is. It attracts a very specific buyer profile. Think of the successful individual who views their vehicle not as a status billboard.
They don't need to shout about it.
They don't need the car to confirm their status. Their status is already confirmed. They are looking for a sophisticated, understated tool. A space for decompression.
That distinction is just critical. But it leads us to the most challenging part of that source text.
The must compete.
The elegance must compete. That single phrase implies that Lincoln is taking a huge strategic risk here.
A massive risk.
They are betting on subtlety in a market that for a long time has been dominated by spectacle.
And that's the inherent risk. Historically, especially in the American context, luxury has very often meant more, bigger, and flashier.
Right.
So for Motor Trend, to use the word must suggests that the current market, a market that has been conditioned by Cadillac, hasn't yet fully accepted this elegance standard.
So Lincoln is trying to do two things at once.
Yes. They're trying to define a whole new axis of competition. They have to prove that refinement can ultimately overthrow visible dominance.
It's a challenge of shifting cultural perception, not just shifting sheet metal.
That's it exactly. Lincoln isn't just rolling out a new product. They are attempting a cultural pivot in what American luxury buyers value most.
And for that pivot to work, it requires a genuinely superior execution of beauty and elegance. It has to be so good.
So flawlessly executed that it overcomes the sheer weight of what Cadillac has built with that one word. Impressive.
Which is hard, because elegance is hard to measure on a brochure.
It is. But impressiveness, as we're about to see, is highly measurable, highly visible, and instantly gratifying. Lincoln has placed its chips on the harder sell.
Okay, so let's pivot now and analyze the reigning standard bearer, the vehicle that's setting the pace, the Cadillac Escalade. The source calls it Very simply, the impressive Escalade. Given the intensity of this rivalry, we have to unpack the immense weight carried by that one adjective. Impressive.
If elegance is subtle, impressiveness is monolithic. It's a wall of presence.
Yeah.
In the luxury SUV segment, impressive translates directly to the sensory impact of power, scale, and technology. It means the Escalade is designed not just to be driven, but to dominate the environment it moves through.
Dominate.
It has to be physically imposing.
So we're talking about the vehicle's stance on the road, the sheer volume of its grille, which is enormous, and just the way it visually occupies more space than almost any other vehicle out there.
It's luxury that announces itself, and it often does that with sharp, commanding character lines and a design philosophy that prioritizes impact over any kind of subtlety.
And then there's the technology piece. The Escalade is just.
Yeah.
It's the embodiment of technological maximalism.
It is. When you look at the modern Escalade, the first thing that grabs you isn't the leather stitching.
No, it's the screen.
It's the massive, integrated digital screens. We're talking about these huge, curved OLED displays that span, 38 inches or more across the dashboard.
It's like a command center.
It is a command center. And these technological showcases are the very definition of impressiveness. They generate an immediate wow factor.
And you can sell that. It's quantifiable.
They are quantifiable, they are demonstrably expensive, and they instantly convey that the owner possesses the latest, most cutting-edge hardware available.
That's a crucial distinction. Impressiveness relies on these immediate, measurable metrics that are easy to market.
Absolutely.
The Cadillac can highlight the screen size. They can highlight the complexity of their driver assistance systems, like Super Cruise.
Which is a huge selling point.
A huge one. The ability to do hands-free driving on mapped highways. And just the sheer volume of space, whether it's for passengers or for cargo, it's all about bigger numbers.
And all of these elements, they create this undeniable sense of modern capability. Impressiveness serves the need for visible success.
So if you're a buyer who sees your vehicle as an extension of your achievements,
the Escalade fulfills that role perfectly. It doesn't whisper, it broadcasts.
Okay, so this brings us right to the core of these competing philosophies. You've got Lincoln on one side offering this understated, almost European-style luxury focused on interior calm and refinement. That's elegance.
Right.
And then you have Cadillac offering the quintessential American luxury experience impressiveness, which favors bold presence and obvious technological superiority.
And for a long time, the market has validated Cadillac's approach. Let's be clear about that.
It's been the sales leader.
To become the standard bearer, the Escalade had to successfully condition the market to expect this combination of overwhelming physical presence and pioneering technology. They set the bar that others now have to jump over.
And that bar is currently set on the impressive spectrum.
Very much so.
So let's synthesize this rivalry through the lens of the buyer. Who are these two competing philosophies actually targeting? It can't be the same person.
No, and this is where, the sociological aspect of this deep dive really comes in. Let's imagine two fictional buyer profiles.
Okay, let's do it.
First, let's create the understated executive.
Okay, the understated executive. I'm picturing someone established, maybe they work in finance or a creative field. They live in a relatively dense urban or suburban environment.
And their status is already high. They're acutely aware that ostentatious displays of wealth can sometimes be perceived negatively depending on their circle.
So they want quality that really only they and their passengers can truly appreciate.
The silent ride, the perfect texture of the leather, the harmonious design of the cabin.
Yes. This buyer, the understated executive, that's Lincoln's target market for elegance.
That's the bullseye. They appreciate the subtlety. They appreciate the engineering that goes into NVH reduction. They might even view the Cadillac's giant screens as a distraction.
Or just like visual noise.
As visual noise, exactly. They are paying for subtraction, the subtraction of noise, of vibration, of visual clutter.
Okay, so that's profile one. Now who's the Cadillac buyer?
Profile two. Let's call this person the tech enthusiast high visibility entrepreneur.
I can picture this person too. Often younger, needs the vehicle to reflect their rapid success.
Or their company's success.
Right. And they value cutting-edge, demonstrable technology above all else. The biggest screens, the boldest appearance.
And features like Super Cruise are absolutely essential because they represent innovation and efficiency. It's a statement that they are at the forefront of what's possible. They are paying for the addition of features, of presence, of capability.
And the tech enthusiast is Cadillac's core demographic for impressiveness.
Without a doubt. For them, a car must feel like the technological apex of the entire industry. The visual statement the Escalade makes is not secondary. For many, it is the primary benefit.
So the battle is just perfectly defined. Lincoln is gambling that the market is migrating towards that understated executive profile, while Cadillac is doubling down on the enduring appeal of the tech enthusiast profile.
And this whole philosophical battle hinges on which of those buyer profiles holds the most influence in setting market trends.
And crucially, which strategy is more sticky over the long term? Which one ages better?
That's a great point. Elegance, by its very nature, is difficult to date. A well-designed interior can look good for decades.
But technological impressiveness.
That can look rapidly outdated. As screens and software evolve, what's cutting edge today is standard tomorrow and obsolete the day after.
And that's a commercial hurdle. The Escalade provides this immediate, undeniable gratification. It says, I spent a lot of money, everyone knows it, and it does really cool things right now.
Right. The Navigator requires a slower appreciation, a deeper understanding of design and material quality. It's an investment in a feeling, not just a feature list.
And given that the source says the Navigator's elegance must compete, it really suggests that Lincoln has the aesthetically challenging road ahead. They are fighting against years of established Escalade dominance that's been built on impressiveness.
Absolutely. Cadillac hasn't just built a successful product, they have built and established a definition of aspirational American luxury.
One that equates success with size, capability, and technological spectacle.
So Lincoln's job is to dismantle that entire mental framework in the buyer's mind and replace it with their own definition, one that's rooted in sophistication and refined aesthetic pleasure.
So for you, the listener, understanding this rivalry means you're now equipped to look at pretty much any luxury SUV on the road and immediately categorize its strategic intent.
It's a new lens?
Is it trying to achieve elegance, or is it striving for impressiveness?
It makes every car sighting a little moment of market analysis. It lets you see the calculated risk and the potential reward that's inherent in every single design decision, understanding that Lincoln is asking buyers to consciously reject the established norm.
Let's dedicate some serious time now to the ultimate prize in all of this, the title itself. Luxury SUV Standard Bearer. This is more than just a marketing slogan. It's a designation that grants immense market power. What does it actually mean functionally to be the standard bearer in this specific luxury market?
Okay, so being the standard bearer means you are the reference point. You're the benchmark.
For everyone else.
For everyone. When Mercedes-Benz or Lexus or BMW starts developing their next generation of high-end three-row SUVs, the GLS, the LX, the X7, the very first thing their engineers and designers do is get the standard bearer, tear it apart, and benchmark it.
So they're measuring everything against it.
Everything. It dictates the minimum expectations for the feature set, the quality of the materials, the refinement of the ride, and the level of technological capability.
So if the Escalade is the current standard bearer, it's directly influencing the size of the screens in the next BMW, the level of integration of autonomous driving features in the next Mercedes.
And the boldness of the presence expected from the entire segment, yes. But the power extends way beyond just design influence.
Oh, what's up?
The standard bearer typically commands a premium price structure. It justifies the highest dealer markups. And, critically, it tends to dominate the resale and used car market.
So it holds its value better.
Much better. Because it is the recognized king of the hill, it maintains its desirability and has stronger residual values years down the line.
It's also the halo, right? The car that gets people into the showroom.
It's the ultimate halo. It attracts customers into the dealer in the first place, and they may end up leaving with another lower-priced model, but the standard bearer got them in the door.
It sets the psychological standard for the consumer. When a buyer decides they're in the market for a high-end luxury SUV, the standard bearer is that unspoken mental benchmark that all other options are judged against.
And that is the powerful hurdle that Lincoln faces. If buyers today equate standard bearer with impressive, which means massive screens, a dominating size, hands-free driving,
All the Cadillac traits.
then Lincoln has to somehow prove that elegance can fulfill that benchmark role, even if it means sacrificing some of that immediate, in-your-face impressiveness.
So to truly claim the title, the Navigator has to successfully execute this synthesis of traits. But it has to make its core trait elegance the most compelling reason to buy the car.
It has to make elegance the new standard.
We identified 3 sort of non-negotiable aspects that any standard bearer has to excel at. as implied by this rivalry.
Right. First, you have design and aesthetics, what the source calls beauty.
This is about lasting appeal.
It has to be. The standard bearer has to be aesthetically pleasing enough that its design endures for the entire product life cycle, 5, 6, 7 years, and still looks relevant after that. It needs to possess that visual harmony that Lincoln is striving for.
Okay, what's second?
Second, we look at refinement and quality elegance. This is the engineering baseline.
The NVH stuff we talked about?
Exactly. How quiet is the cabin? How impeccable is the integration of all the materials? Is the ride quality genuinely superior and isolated? Does it deliver on that promise of being a sophisticated sanctuary?
This is the invisible luxury.
It's the invisible luxury that defines long-term satisfaction with the product.
And third?
And third, you have technology and presence impressiveness. Because even if Lincoln is selling elegance, they cannot ignore the technological floor that has been set by Cadillac.
They can't just put a small screen in there and call it a day.
No way. The screens must still be high resolution and responsive. The connectivity has to be seamless. And the physical presence, even if it's understated, must still convey success and credibility. The standard bearer has to be cutting edge without necessarily being maximalist.
The genius of this Motor Trend excerpt is that it forces the question, which of those three elements should lead?
Right.
If Lincoln wins this battle, the standard bearer title validates the dominance of beauty and elegance.
And if Cadillac maintains its lead, impressiveness remains king.
And that phrase, elegance must compete, it just really underlines the incredible risk that Lincoln is embracing here.
It does. They are attempting to redefine the entire segment while holding the status of the challenger. They are strategically saying, the way you defined luxury yesterday is now obsolete. This is the future.
And that requires a product that is so flawlessly executed in its refinement.
It has to be nearly perfect. So good that it overcomes the market's existing bias towards spectacle.
Let's just pause for a second on the source itself, the authority. Why does Motor Trend focusing on this particular rivalry carry so much weight?
Well, automotive journalists, especially at legacy publications like Motor Trend, they often act as interpreters and predictors of market trends.
They're not just doing consumer reviews.
No, not at this level. Their framing of this battle as elegance versus impressive is a signal to the entire automotive world. They're saying, this is the critical philosophical pivot point for American luxury right now.
So they aren't just reporting on the cars.
They are actively framing the stakes of the competition. Their assessment suggests this is a genuine, you could even say existential strategic contest between GM and Ford at the highest levels.
It reinforces the idea that these two American giants have invested billions of dollars in completely divergent interpretations of what the wealthy American consumer actually wants.
Exactly. And that makes the sales success of the Navigator and the Escalade a verdict on brand vision.
So if Lincoln starts selling better than projected,
it tells every luxury brand, BMW, Audi, Mercedes, Lexus, that American buyers are evolving. Maybe they're moving past technological overload and are starting to crave quiet, thoughtful design. It legitimizes a massive industry shift.
and if the Escalade keeps winning?
It tells them the exact opposite. Keep pushing the boundaries of size and screen technology because that's what the market leader is doing, and it's working.
So, okay, we've broken down the language, the strategies, the stakes. Let's bring it all home. For our listener, for you, the learner, what does this highly analytical deep dive into a few words actually mean for your understanding of the broader market? Why should this philosophical battle matter?
It matters because this highly competitive dynamic is the primary engine of innovation in the high-end market.
The competition drives progress.
It forces it. When two multi-billion-dollar companies intentionally adopt such divergent philosophies, elegance on one side, impressiveness on the other, they are forced to push the absolute boundaries in their respective areas to prove their point.
So Lincoln is pouring resources into advanced manufacturing techniques to get those perfect panel gaps.
Right. And custom sound insulation for ultimate NVH control. Premium, sustainable material sourcing to get that elevated sense of quality and elegance.
And meanwhile, Cadillac is forced to invest in next-generation processing power for their infotainment systems.
And groundbreaking sensor arrays for autonomous features like Super Cruise. And unique, complex lighting signatures to maximize that visual impressiveness both inside and out. The competition ensures that innovation moves forward on multiple fronts at once.
Aesthetic design, sensory refinement, and raw technology
And the ultimate winner, regardless of which car sells more in the end,
is the buyer.
it's the buyer. The rivalry forces both automakers to spend billions maximizing design, technology, and quality to truly claim that standard-bearer title. It is an arms race fueled by ambition and defined by aesthetics.
And for you, the learner, understanding this rivalry moves you past just passively absorbing car reviews.
It gives you an analytical framework.
You now have the framework to understand the strategic intent behind every choice a luxury brand makes. You can analyze any new release from any country and immediately place it on that spectrum between Lincoln's beauty and elegance and Cadillac's impressive dominance.
It just deepens your appreciation for the incredibly complex interplay of design, engineering, and market psychology.
It turns a simple vehicle comparison into a reflection of shifting cultural values about status and success.
That's the big question. Are we moving toward a quieter, more sophisticated standard? Or will the desire for immediate spectacle and technological dominance continue to hold sway?
And that's the pivotal question being decided in real time right now in showrooms. And it influences every layer of the automotive market, eventually trickling down to more mainstream vehicles. So this deep dive has, I think, really proven that the language of competition, when it's chosen carefully, can reveal entire strategic landscapes.
It's a keyhole view into a huge battle.
The contest for the top luxury SUV crown is, well, it's a profound battle of design philosophies.
We've established that Lincoln, with the updated Navigator, is championing elegance and beauty. They are attempting to define a new, more refined standard.
And this is a direct challenge to Cadillac's entrenched status, which has been so successfully built upon impressiveness and immediate technological spectacle.
The true standard bearer has to master that balance of design, refinement, and technology. There's no escaping that.
But the choice between these two American titans, as it's been framed by Motor Trend, it asks the high-end buyer to fundamentally decide which trait they value most.
Is it the lasting, sophisticated appeal?
Or is it the immediate, overwhelming presence?
It's a decision that really reflects whether a luxury vehicle should serve as a quiet, personal sanctuary or as a bold, visible declaration of capability and status to the world outside.
So we want to leave you with this concluding challenge. Having analyzed the specific strengths of both of these competitors, what single attribute, elegance, beauty, or impressiveness, do you believe the true luxury SUV standard bearer absolutely cannot compromise on in today's environment?
Is refinement now more valuable than raw capability? That's a tough question.
Yeah, it is. And here's a final provocative thought, building directly on the conflict we've outlined. If the Navigator succeeds wildly, if its focus on quiet, sophisticated elegance becomes the new benchmark, does American luxury permanently shift its identity away from that historical tradition of bigger is better?
Does American opulence, which for so long has celebrated visible dominance, pivot entirely toward the understated, reserved sophistication that we often associate with European design?
What happens to the cultural identity of American luxury itself if quiet elegance permanently triumphs over technological impressiveness?
That shift would reshape not just the Navigator and the Escalade, but the aspirational goals of millions of buyers for decades to come.
Something truly substantial to ponder as you observe the next generation of flagship vehicles roll out onto the streets.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the language of luxury competition.
We'll see you next time.